The US economy is doing well as of January 2025, as evidenced by record-high property prices and stock market expansion. Younger generations, meanwhile, are falling behind. Since 1989, the wealth of Americans under 40 has decreased by over 50%, while that of Americans over 40 has increased by 12%. The financial situation of 30-year-olds is worse than that of their parents for the first time in 200 years. The idea that the next generation would outperform their parents has been dashed, underscoring a dramatic change in the American economy. As for the younger generation, what went wrong? The social contract is broken. America has long been referred to as the land of opportunity. America was distinct from the rest of the globe for the most of its history. Everyone had the opportunity to achieve the American dream, regardless of their background or identity. For many younger individuals, however, the dream now feels more like a nightmare. About 4.5 times the median household income was spent on the average home in 1985. Today, with homes costing around 7 times the median income, that number has increased by 50%. That is to say, in just a few decades, life has gotten significantly more costly. The NIMBY, not in my backyard movement, is one of the main causes of this affordability dilemma. NIMBY, the development issue and the housing crisis. In many large US cities, NIMBYism, the opposition to new developments in the area, has become widespread. According to city planners, this mindset has led to serious socioeconomic issues, such as the housing scarcity. Because they wish to preserve their quality of life and preserve the value of their properties, many landowners are opposed to new developments. In fact, housing development in the US has dropped by 30% since before 2000, even as the population continues to grow. The number of homes available per person has steadily decreased, which drives up the prices of real estate. For example, in 2024, San Francisco, a city with a population of 1 million people, only approved 16 new housing permits, with just 7 of those being for single-family homes. That's just 16 new homes for a city of 1 million people. Meanwhile, older generations have been acquiring an increasing amount of real estate. While homeownership among those under 55 has decreased by 19%, the percentage of homes held by those over 55 has climbed by 23%. Policies that have helped older generations include 1031 exchanges, which allow them to avoid paying taxes on the sale of real estate, and tax cuts on capital gains. Due to their outright ownership of the historically low interest rates they have locked in, these homeowners typically remain in their houses for longer. The new entrant into the housing market, private equity. In the meantime, private equity groups have made significant inroads into the housing sector. Private equity was once seen to be the ideal job choice for people who wanted to amass substantial wealth. These companies currently hold more than 240,000 single-family houses in the United States, which may not seem like much in relation to the entire housing market, but it is expanding quickly. These companies focus their investments on strategic markets, particularly in the Sun Belt, where they own over 50% of the housing market in certain localities. Private equity firms are able to buy large swaths of homes at once, making cash offers that regular buyers simply can't compete with. These firms also have the resources to optimize property management and rents using sophisticated data tools. For instance, rents for a 2-bedroom detached home in cities like Tampa, Phoenix, and Atlanta have risen by up to 44% in just a few years. That's much higher than the national average of 24%. This trend makes it even harder for young people to buy homes, as they are priced out by large investment firms with vast financial resources. The effects of price fixing and corporate landlords. Private equity-backed corporate landlords frequently use rent optimization techniques that raise prices even more. Recently, the Attorney General of Washington, D.C. brought a complaint against 14 corporate landlords for engaging in price fixing through RealPage, a corporation owned by Thoma Bravo, a private equity group. The average renter finds it even more difficult to afford housing as a result of RealPage's assistance in helping landlords optimize rent pricing across millions of rental units. This data-driven pricing approach demonstrates the increasing dominance of private equity corporations in the housing industry. The end goal of these corporate landlords is clear. They want to own as many homes as possible, turning future home buyers into lifelong renters. This trend is expected to continue, with private equity predicted to own 40% of U.S. single-family home rentals by 2038, 8 times its current share. This would drive up rents even further, making it even harder for young people to save for a home, while simultaneously reducing the number of homes available for sale. A generation affected by the decline in wealth. Housing has always been a major means of accumulating wealth, but younger generations are lagging behind due to a decline in new home construction, increased competition from private equity, and rising housing costs. While wealth for boomers has continued to increase, wealth for individuals under 40 has decreased by about 50% since 1989. While newer generations have been priced out, the older age has profited from increased property values and had the chance to purchase properties when prices were cheaper. Older generations often blame younger people for not working hard enough or spending frivolously. While it's true that younger people today work a bit fewer hours than their predecessors, about 34 hours a week compared to 35 in 1985, this is hardly the reason they are struggling. The reality is that younger people are spending more on essentials like housing, healthcare, and education while spending less on physical goods and experiences. In fact, when you remove housing from the equation, younger generations actually spend less on average than older generations. The effects of growing educational costs. Younger generations' economic difficulties are frequently attributed to their lack of skills and need for more education. But this assertion is unjust. Generation Z will carry on the tradition of each generation becoming better educated than the one before it. The growing expense of education and its diminishing value are the problem. In 1980, the average cost of a 4-year college education, adjusted for inflation, was around $10,000. Today, that cost has risen to $29,000, a 3x increase. The problem isn't just the price, it's also the increase in the number of administrators, consultants, and non-educational staff at colleges. Between 1976 and 2018, the number of full-time faculty grew by 92%, while administrative staff grew by 164%, and non-teaching professionals grew by 452%. This bloat has inflated the cost of education without improving its quality. Despite the rising costs, the value of a degree has also decreased. For example, households with a 4-year degree earned an average of $100,000 in 1980. Today, they earn $118,000, a real increase of only 18%. Meanwhile, the cost of education has increased by 188%. The reality is that getting a degree now costs far more than the financial benefit it provides. Consumer and student debt, the increasing burden. Many young people now have enormous student loan debt as a result of the escalating expense of education. The U.S. student loan debt is currently $1.7 trillion, which is double the rate of salary growth over the past 20 years. But there are other issues besides student loan debt. Additionally, a greater number of young people are taking on consumer debt, such as mortgages, vehicle loans, and credit card debt. While salaries have stayed largely unchanged since 2013, credit card debt has grown by 26%, auto debt by 14%, and home debt by 44%. The increasing weight of government debt on upcoming generations. Young people are burdened with more than just personal debt. The national debt of the United States is currently $35 trillion, 3 times the size of the GDP as a result of the government spending binge. Furthermore, this figure does not include the $123 trillion in state-level debt, unfunded pension obligations, or projected Social Security and Medicare payments. This indicates that the total debt load for each American is more than $370,000. Young people will be the ones who have to pay for this massive debt, while the older generation gets to enjoy the benefits. The US government is spending money it doesn't have, with no real mechanism in place to stop the spending. Elected officials, many of whom are elderly and out of touch with the challenges faced by younger people, are making decisions that will harm future generations. For young people in the United States, the outlook is dire. Young people are finding it more difficult to succeed due to rising expenses, stagnant incomes, mounting debt, and a government that keeps making careless spending decisions. However, picking between Republicans and Democrats isn't the only option. The fundamental problems have not been addressed by either party. Young people will remain marginalized as long as they remain silent. It's time for young people to stand up and demand change. The future is in your hands. Take action, challenge the system, and fight for your future. The dream of owning a home, having a family, and living a comfortable life isn't out of reach, but only if you take charge of your destiny. The time to act is now.